I have this.
My oh my. I did not expect my Resident Evil Iceberg video to blow up the way that it did. With nearly 4,000 views as of me making this video, and a substantial increase to my subscribers, from the bottom of my heart, I truly mean it when I say thank you. It has been a dream of mine to make something truly noteworthy, for I don't like to waste anyone's time. I've paid attention to the comments, and I felt that I could carry this weight just a little further. Wanting to go past memes and silly in-jokes among the community, I had hoped to bring you something more educational and informative. With that being said, here are some of the things I've had to cut out or felt could be pretty decent additions to the OG Iceberg. Keep in mind, these are in no particular order, and my OG Iceberg video truly does contain just about everything I had written down. You've once again entered the world of Belgato Fuerte. Good luck. Number 1. Ganado's Vocal Clues. Throughout Resident Evil 4, you encounter enemies known as Ganados, and they all speak Spanish. As someone who grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, of course I know what it is that these enemies are saying. They say phrases and curse words which insult Leon, but they also somewhat let the player know when they're sneaking up from behind. Personally, I've always loved this detail. Number 2. Zigzag motion to avoid dogs. For some reason, in the earlier Resident Evil titles, running away from this Kerberos enemies, aka the dogs, and a zigzag motion makes it much harder for them to attack the player. The reason I feel this is the case is because the dogs can only lunge in one direction, preventing the AI from functioning properly. This seems to work in the classic games, the remake of Resident Evil 1 and Code Veronica. It's extremely hard to do this in Resident Evil 0, for that game tends to force the player to kill the dogs when you encounter them, let alone places the player in some more claustrophobic settings, making it harder to run away from the dogs to begin with. Number 3. Rebecca and Billy's costumes in Resident Evil 0. The Resident Evil 0 DLC costumes are all pretty dope references to other RE titles, and some are even from other Capcom games. There are quite a bit of costumes to go through, so let us proceed. We're starting off with Billy's costumes. The first one is the Wolf Force from Merc Corps. Merc Corps is an old Capcom arcade style game to follow up to Commando. As you can see, Billy is dressed up as the character Wolf Force. I really like the way the colors pop on this one. In fact, it's actually something I'm a fan of with all the costumes we're about to see, is just how much detail and color and the saturation they decided to implement in a rather dark game. The next one is Billy's Street Fighter Alpha 3 costume, where he is dressed up as Cody. I love this one. I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. I play Street Fighter quite a lot, if you guys don't know that already. This costume is a great detail. I like the fact that they combine two characters who were once imprisoned in their respective franchises. And not only that, this is just a really cool inclusion. I love Street Fighter, so I'm here for it. Moving on to Rebecca, we have the Star's 1996 costume, which looks great in this game. I'm not necessarily a fan of the overall design compared to the Resident Evil 0 standard costume. However, I do love the headband. It's a great touch, and I love how vibrant this one is in comparison to all the surroundings. The Star's 1997 costume, which is a reference to the costume that Rebecca wears exclusively in the arranged mode director's cut. This is a great costume. I'm glad they implemented it in this game. Actually, this is my favorite costume overall, I feel. Great job. Love the way it looks. It looks really cool in this upscaled game. Sorry, I'm doing this all in one take. The next one is the sportswear costume, which I can't believe they went as far as including the
Jackpot.
Resident Evil 2 photo costume, the one from the weird Wesker desk. It's crazy. The basketball costume, awesome. Great choice, but not my favorite. I'm glad they included it. It's there for the fans. Me being a fan, I'm glad it's there. I don't use it often. The cheerleader costume from Resident Evil DS is something that was surprising making in this game. It looks great. I think there's one complaint I do have, and that is, my thing is that in the original version of Resident Evil DS, Rebecca, when she aims her gun, she has pom-poms, and I kind of don't like how she doesn't use the pom-poms in this game. A little bit of an oversight in my opinion, but I also understand how coding works, and that might have been a problem. Moving on, next is the nurse costume, which was featured in Mercenaries 3D for the 3DS. I own this game. I think it's just okay. It was really fun, you know, for the good month or so. Me and my friend Nick played together with this one. I love this costume, however. I like the very Lolita-esque look that it has. And it looks like something my girlfriend would wear, honestly. It's a great costume. Haha, no, my girlfriend. Alright, moving on next. The STARS prototype costume for the N64 beta. If you've seen the Iceberg video that I've made, which you should go watch, I featured some footage from the Resident Evil 0 N64 beta build, which this is ripped from. I can't believe that they put this also into the game. This is something that I'm a fan of personally. I love this costume. I use it quite a bit. I also love how it's a reference to Jill. But if you notice, this costume looks as if she was going to lose the padding in the hat eventually. So it's kind of like a mixture of Rebecca's already existing 1996 costume combined with Jill Valentine's, which makes it seem as if this was going to be the standard attire or uniform for the women in the STARS team. And finally is Team Wesker. I love this one. I think it's very good. It's very attractive. I love that it's black and red. I love that Rebecca's eyes glow. Gives us a pretty cool, like, Yumiko vibe, you know, the girl from the anime. You know, I don't want to let my inner weeb come out too hard, but yeah, this is a great costume. And fun fact, all the t-shirts are actually from various fan-made designs from a contest that Capcom held, and there are actually quite a few Japan-only exclusives. But maybe I might make a Resident Evil costume video. I think that would be pretty cool, right? Let me know in the comments if you think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, moving on to my scripted work. As you can tell, me speaking from the top of my head is not always the best. Number 4, Redfield Bloodline. Also known as Chris posting, this entry has a long history dating back to a meme surrounding Leon and Ashley from Resident Evil 4, originating from various 4chan posts. To put it simply, the Chris posting aspect revolves around our favorite boulder punching hero trying to get various guys, mostly Leon, from the Resident Evil franchise to impregnate Claire in order to sustain or continue the Redfield bloodline. It's quite a rabbit hole. Number 5, Resident Evil 1.5 connections to the Resident Evil 2 remake. While I did touch a lot on RE 1.5 in my original Iceberg video, I felt that I could take this time to go into further details. There were a number of rooms that were in the original 1.5 beta, such as the secret police room, and the shooting range that were later included in the remake that weren't in the original Resident Evil 2 game. Other details are the more modern approach to the police station's design, as well as Ada and Mr. X's more noir-esque clothing style, hence the trench coats, sunglasses, and a fedora. Marvin was also featured much longer in the Resident Evil 2 remake, which was the original design for his character in 1.5. I also like the fact that Birkin in his G form screams out for Sherry, similarly to how he did in the 1.5 beta. Granted, there are far more stuff from 1.5 that managed to make its way into the remake, but the smaller, fine details truly touches the heart of this fanboy. Number 7, Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw Controllers and the Resident Evil 7 Easter Egg. Okay. This one is personal and is going to hurt me so hard to talk about. But here goes. Back in the early 2000s, Capcom had struck a deal with Newbie Tech, which was a company that made very amazing and otherwise interesting controller designs, to say the least. In 2005, they had released 2 Chainsaw controllers. One was for the GameCube and one for the PS2. Now, to my understanding, the GameCube controller dropped in March 2005, and the PS2 controller released in September that same year. Right before the release of Resident Evil 4 came out in October, that is. So, well, this is where it hurts the most. Are you ready for a history lesson? Okay. In 2005, I was 12 going on 13 years old. I had an older friend of mine named Andrew. He was friends with my oldest sister. And he actually bought me the Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw controller for the GameCube for me for my birthday. It's amazing, I know. Well, guess what happened a little over a week later? Hurricane Katrina destroyed everything in its path, including my hometown, New Orleans, killing many people and leaving many more, including myself, both homeless and depressed. To this day, there are still people from my youth I've never ever heard from or seen again. My Katrina story will be saved for another time, trust me. However, along with the rest of the stuff that I had lost, including the Resident Evil figures and toys from my childhood, this chainsaw controller was left behind to drown. Since New Orleans didn't reopen back until about October 2005, no gaming stores were open for roughly another year. With that said, I had unfortunately missed out on grabbing the PS2 controller as well because of that exact reason. Sad story aside, I'm totally cool with Katrina jokes and the like. Hell, we make them here all the time since to this day, we are still feeling the effects of that crazy storm and our weather doesn't get any much better than what it is now. I mean, as I'm typing this out, there are thunderstorms brewing. It's just another day living on the Gulf Coast and surrounded by the Mississippi River. Getting back on track, these controllers and the chainsaws which inspired them have quite a legacy. For starters, the yellow chainsaw is inspired by Leatherface's in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is also used by Dr. Salvador in Resident Evil 4. The reddish, sort of orange PS2 controller seems to be the one used by Ash Williams in Evil Dead. I am not certain about this. Don't take that, in fact, I am just assuming it looks like that one, okay? Which, that one is used by the Bella sisters. No, not the Bella twins. Not to mention, in Resident Evil 7, both the chainsaws used by Ethan and Jack Baker, Ethan Winters and Jack Baker, during the crazy chainsaw duel, reflect not only these respective chainsaws, but Jack even quotes Ash Williams as saying, "Groovy."
Groovy.
As he picks up the chainsaw. And that concludes this iceberg, and probably for good. I don't really have much to add to it personally, nor do I really care to truly carry forward with this particular topic. I personally feel as if the iceberg I created is pretty finalized, and the only things I could add wouldn't necessarily be of iceberg worth. There's a huge difference between sharing random facts versus quality or obscure information regarding the Resident Evil franchise as a whole. And much of what I could or want to add would really be stuff revolving around the spin-offs. That being said, this is only just the beginning. I have so many interests, such as books, comics, anime, video games, films, wrestling, pizza, alcohol, and so much I want to share with you, the viewer, and the rest of the world. I've had to take some time in between my last video and this one in order to handle some personal work for an anime convention I may or may not be part of, which I've been doing work for since I was 16 years old as a measly little volunteer. But that's just it. That is how I started. I was just a kid when I had all these ambitions and goals to make content. The things I've mentioned before have all been special interests of mine for a very long time. I've traveled quite a bit since I was 16, and I've seen quite a lot. Going on 29 years of age now, I feel as if my tastes have been both refined and aged like wine, and a good way that is, it hasn't soured. I'm very excited to show off some of the stuff I have in mind that may or may not be entertaining to you, the viewer. So join me on my journey as I do my best to bring joy, nostalgia, information, love, and hope to you and to everyone else who has decided to tune in. Thank you so much for your time. It is truly appreciated. And you can find me, I do stream on Twitch currently. I'm on Twitter. Feel free to hit me up, comment. I like to respond and interact with everybody who says whatever they want, because that's just the world we live in. We have information and we can do whatever we want with it, such as share it on the internet. That being said, welcome to the world of Riquito Fuerte, and join me as we fight our fears and survive. Adios, homies.